You want me to put that on my todger?
This one's wife, Lilibet, has shrunk. Hello, I'm HG Tudor. This one's wife has once again taken to Instagram. What a surprise, I hear you say sarcastically. Yes, the mid-range narcissist has utilized her go-to method of manipulation, the conduit that is social media, in order to assert control over the audience, to draw fuel from them by way of their responses, and naturally, to manage her facade, which is a residual benefit. She takes to Instagram because it's so easy. All she need do is have somebody take a photograph of her, video her, or sometimes do it herself, and then pop it onto Instagram. Nobody can stop her. Nobody can tell her, don't do this. Nobody can threaten her need for control as she once again shares a glimpse into her life with the world at large. But it would appear that there are some Alice in Wonderland shenanigans going on in Monty Shit Show, as Lilibet appears to have changed once again. Could it be that within the hallowed hallways of the mansion in Monty Shit Show, that young Lilibet finds herself coming across potions and pieces of cake labelled "Eat me" and "Drink me," and so she does, finding that she drastically alters in height, becoming taller, becoming shorter. Might it be that it causes her hair to change colour? Well, maybe one day we will find out. But for now, let's take a look at the latest piece of video footage that this one's wife has decided to share with everybody. The accompanying music has been removed for the purposes of copyright, but she accompanies it with the track Sugar Sugar. Oh yes, the irony. Let's have a look. The scene is somewhere in California. Although it's suggested that this might be on the property of this one's wife, one doubts that it is, because she has acknowledged and also demonstrated that her knowledge about beekeeping is equivalent to the square root of fuck all. We saw this in the crap that was an early episode of With Love, Meghan, as she turned up with some Californian hippie beekeeper who seemed like a pleasant enough chap, who demonstrated that he was the one that knew all about beekeeping and she knew bugger all about it, as she asked stupid questions and demonstrated in her handling of the honeycombs that she really didn't know what she was doing. But the scene is set. There appears to be a beehive, and there is a bucket with something smoking, clearly having been set up for this one's wife, because as you know, everything that she does when there is the contemplation of it being shared with the outside world is performative. The scene is set. We do not see the bees nor hear from them. They are drowned out by the accompanying music. But what is this that we see? Two figures walking towards the beehive. They are clad in overalls. Previously, this one's wife thought it was a good idea just to wear the top part of her outfit, showing off her skinny jeans. But this time, assuming that is this one's wife on the left, she's fully clad as she looks like she's donning hazmat gear for an episode of Chernobyl. But she's dragged somebody along. How appropriate. Take a 3-year-old to mess around with bees. Sporting some fetching rainbow wellies, the young individual, who it's presumed is Lilibet, although of course this one's wife doesn't tell us as such, thus meaning that she can maintain I never said it was her, wanders along, waddling as she goes, which suggests that she might be wearing a nappy or a diaper. Well, fair enough. She may still require that if they're out and about somewhere with a toilet not in easy reach and she doesn't have the bladder control in order to hold it. But what we do have is an interesting change in the person presumed to be Lilibet, because hitherto she appeared to have rather long legs, which would mean that the waddle that she adopts as she walks along is rather surprising. You wouldn't have expected to have seen that with a child whose legs were the length that we saw in previous footage and photographs. Here, she seems to almost toddle along, which is commensurate with someone of her age, but doesn't fit with who we've seen elsewhere. They seem to be almost dragged along by the individual who we presume is this one's wife, until near to the beehive, this one's wife turns and looks for the section on the back of Lilibet that she can turn to ensure that she remains wound up, as clearly this is a clockwork child. She gives what is meant to be a reassuring pat, and hitherto we see that the child, purporting to be Lilibet, turns. And in that glimpse, and here is a close-up, we actually see the child's face. But it isn't a clear view, because it's seen through the mesh of the attire, and, of course, the mesh draws a line which obscures part of the front of Lilibet's face. Therefore, we can't really get a good look at what she looks like, which naturally is the intention by this one's wife, who will have undoubtedly watched this footage back before she's released it to ensure that she once again doesn't give away too much in relation to the actual identity of the child. But what we do see is the hair. Now, it looks to be a relatively overcast day. You can't see blue sky, there are no shadows on the ground, and therefore the light is a little darker than usual. But what is interesting is to see that Lilibet, if it is her, has dark hair. Yes, not the Titian tresses that we've been treated to previously. No, not the ginger Goldilocks that was wheeled out for us to see. Much darker indeed. Now, it's possible that it's the light, but I have to say, there is a notable difference in relation to who this child is, both in terms of hair colour and size. You make of it what you will with regard to the differences that have occurred. Is it simply the result of tampering with the photographs? Could it be that they are actually two different children? No doubt you'll express your views in the comment section. But once again, we have this one's wife utilising one of the children, Archie clearly not being allowed out on this occasion, or maybe the budget is getting tighter, so she could only afford to rent one child on this occasion, who knows. But we see that this one's wife engages in performative activity, taking the child that is purportedly Lilibet out to see the bees. Now, to my mind, that doesn't strike me as the most sensible thing to do, to have a 3-year-old around bees, even when she is suitably attired in the way that she is. But in the world of this one's wife, she doesn't care, because it's all about ensuring that she looks good. And she once again needs something to share with the world so that it produces a comment and a reaction, so she receives fuel, and she wants to manage that facade of both being the trad wife who's involved in an apiary, and that she involves her children in all of this because, as a mum, she's a wonderful human being. Yet again, we get to see this one's wife behaving in her usual performative style, and this time accompanied by a child who is supposedly Lilibet, but looks different from the last version that we saw. What are your thoughts, valuable viewers? Do you think it is Lilibet? Do you think that it's somebody else? Do you think it's somebody completely different from what we've seen before? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.